Hi, welcome to Write More Light. My name is Sarah. I'm with the Midwest Writing Center. If you're unfamiliar with this program, this is a web series in which once a week I give some kind of short lesson in something literary, and once a week I interview somebody doing something awesome in the arts. At the end of the video, I will give you updates on the Midwest Writing Center, and then I will leave you with an itty bitty free write. Today, you are very lucky. It is an interview day, and I have somebody I think of as like the QC canon of writers poets. Mike Bayles, a lifelong Midwest resident, is a widely published poet and short story writer. I don't know if this is true. His most recent book is With Suitcase and Bag, which takes the reader on a poetic journey to places where he worked as a flagger for construction and utility crews. And no, this is really outdated. I apologize. Um, that is accurate as of about 2021. He's got a few new books as far as I know. And also I want to add he was a 2024 Rattlecast Poem of the Month winner in August, which is pretty fantastic. Mike is just I don't know. I already said I feel like he's in the canon of QC poets. He's a prolific writer. He's got what, five, six books, seven books. Um the ones 8 books. Um
Seven,
Seven.
eight to come.
The ones that I have been recently most familiar with include With Suitcase and Bag, the Siouxland and Other Dreams, which I have right here, and Breakfast at the Good Hope Hotel. So yeah, thanks for hanging out with me, Mike. Thanks for dealing with an old bio. How you doing?
Pretty good. Glad to be here. I've been wanting to do an interview. I've been wanting to talk on the subject you mentioned, too. If we had this one discussion group, independent scholars, I'd talk about that as a specific topic. I think it's important how writing fits in our life and how it brings us together.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Um, Well, let's just do that. I'll skip my opening questions. No, no, actually I won't. I will bring us back to that. I like to open with everybody with the same question. How did you come to writing?
I was kind of dragged into it. Fifth grade, a nun at the school I was going to had us write poems, and she said write one, and I wrote two, and I thought it was fantastic. Um, there are different things I did in high school. I think the big thing there is when I had a wrote a piece where John Lennon's guitar was talking. Actually, if I had to redo it, it'd be George Harrison. And some guy after class kind of pulled me aside and went, "Wow, I did a very involved paper junior year in high school. I'd use all college textbooks comparing Beowulf and Paradise Lost as epic poems. I used 9 textbooks when I was riding along with a friend when he's picking up his a friend and his dad when they were picking up his sister in Winona from a college up there. I was just in the back of the car, buried with textbooks, reading about it. It was the most involved things I've done other than novel projects. I'd hope to have a novel out someday.
Oh
Um,
wow. I didn't know.
just really clicked.
I love that. I love that it was like the study, the curiosity that really excited you, and especially at such a young age. That's so cool. Or at least for my nerdy brain. That's really cool.
Pro- Probably beyond my age, something like that. I was just enthralled with John Milton and his voice and all that, even though it was hard for me to understand it written in Old English.
What about Milton spoke to you?
Then I was probably more into religion than I was. It's just the tone of it. An epic poem has to have this big, grandiose tone, which still can be pretty good if you're talking about like moral questions or basic things about life. I think when you talk about and I usually don't, but I think when you talk about some things when you're writing, you go big.
Yeah, I don't usually find myself engaged with epics, but I can sort of see like And I sort of believe that the personal is huge because we are just people. Um, is that something that you think like to this day is influential on your work? Because I can really see
Epic,
that.
epic. Um, Things that are bigger to me are the things from when I was a flagger, like working in the Nicolet National Forest in the northern part of Wisconsin. It just absolutely took my breath away. Things are funny as working with utility crews. Like one of the first few days, I think I was near my car or something, but I was afraid to take a sack lunch with me because I was afraid bears would get me.
Oh,
And I was interested in parts how there are these different lakes and there are these different towns nestled in the Nicolet National Forest. I was enticed by photos I saw at one hotel where it's just a big bunch of trees as far as I could see. It's 1.5 million acres scattered across northern Wisconsin, and that actually isn't the only forest there.
I can't even visualize how much forest that is. I'm already off script. I didn't expect the epic ancient work to come into play, and so immediately I was like, oh, I can see, you sort of have a knack for making everything feel big in your work. And I don't know if this is a real term or if I invented it, but I when I think about like what is beautiful or romantic, not in the literary way, but romantic as in romanticization about the domestic or documentary work, literary work, poetry. You're the person I think of. So hearing that about the old guys, and then thinking about your work as a flagger, and I have read a lot of your work that is about your time flagging or as a flagger. Like that all sort of fits together like a puzzle for me. I feel like you I'm not much into transcendentalism personally, but I feel like you have managed to sort of marry the transcendentalism, the domestic, and the bigness of life in your work. Let me just talk about you for a bit. I don't know, do you feel like I'm mischaracterizing you?
I'm interested to hear people say this. Actually, my readers are more flattering about me than I am.
Are you interested in, I guess, transcendentalism? I feel like nature is just so big in your work.
Nature is kind of it for me. As transcendentalism, there are times I meditated, which is great. I I've learned to relax, but I think I went through a lot of my life as a very high-strung person. I went through my roughest times of college living in my head too much, which caused some of the troubles I had when I was in college. Someone said to learn to live, and I've been in nature. I've take it all in. Um, so if it's big in my writing, it's because like hanging out in the Nicolet National Forest or being where the places whereas that was kind of big to me.
You
I was
know what?
blown away.
Since this has already come up and I don't feel like I have a good definition, do you mind telling me what a flagger is, what a flagger does?
Um, well, one, I was through big stretch struggle with jobs for a period of a while till I was a flagger, and a friend just called me up, just mentioned in passing. I thought that's fine. He said you can stand along the side of the road, and I really needed a job. Um, Actually, a time before that, I figured I had to travel like some people to write, and boy, I got the traveling for that. It's just that it's just that I needed a job, and I thought, what the heck? And it ended up being a
Life-changing.
huge thing for my writing.
What does a flagger do?
A flagger, there are different flaggers on the route. I used to joke to people saying, I'm the reason you're late for work. You'd be driving along and you'd see a road construction sign, then you'd see a one lane road, then you'd see the sign of the showing the flagger insignia. Then you'd see me with the sign turn to stop.
Yeah.
They control traffic when there's just one lane. You got two-lane road and one lane's being reconstructed, or utility crews are working on wires by the side of the road. And it's essentially an adult telling drivers, take your turn, take your turn. Then there are also drivers, flaggers on side roads who don't have signs, but they'll be directing the cars into the flow of traffic when it's going the way they're going.
Hmm.
Um, it's a safety thing. I think some construction people say you're like the face of the construction company, so be nice to them because we mean
They'll come
what you're
back on
talking
us.
to. Not like the guy in a big asphalt roller who's way up in the air, or a guy in a dump truck. Um, it's a very
One
safety
of my
thing.
one of my
I was
best
putting
friends
my
works at
life
an
on the
asphalt
line.
plant.
Pardon?
One of my best friends works at an asphalt plant.
Oh yeah, which one?
Oh, in Washington State.
Okay. Yeah, they do actually have mobile asphalt plants. They'll set it up at a quarry, a construction company moving. I saw them when they left the site. It's a big operation. The dump trucks, a semi pulling the portable asphalt thing. It's a whole big like parade.
That's really crazy for me to think about. So you said that you're putting your life on the line. I feel like it's either farmers or road construction folks are the like the highest casualty jobs out there because and both for the same reason. It's because people don't regard them in the road. Um, but I imagine it's also pretty physically demanding, even if it just looks like standing there. Is it physically demanding?
Uh, Sometimes when I worked a 15-hour day, I'd be hurting and I'd be in my reflective gear. I'd go to the hotel basically to take off my reflective gear and go to a library and write. But when I got off the bed, it'd feel like my right ankle is broken. It
Mm,
was really hard, and sometimes my feet swelled when I had to when
a
I
long
was in the
day.
boots I was supposed to wear from work, and that caused some really trouble. So they're friends in local bars who are almost like taking bets whether I'd physically survive the job, and I did.
I feel like the physical demands of work like that are really underappreciated because I know personally I would rather walk all day than stand still for an hour just because of how difficult it is physically. Um, so that's why I asked that. Also, I have a lot of curiosity about the topic. Um, just your work as a flagger. But of course, more importantly, it's been so influential on your work. So it seems important to dive into just a little bit. So thank you for that side quest. Um, Now to bring that into your work, you've got a lot of poems, and I think it's just poems, right? No, it's not. Some of your short stories do this too. Um, are often through the point of view of the flagger, where the world is going on around our perspective, our speaker. Um, and then it settles into reverie, I think. Or we're watching life happen somewhere. Is that, I don't know, do you feel like that's true before I ask my next question?
Um, I like the spin on it. I think your interpretation is right on. The first rule of reading is don't of writing is don't write, observe. And it
Hmm.
gave me hours of observing, even like uh, tall grass in the wind, dancing in the wind can be fascinating, considering that maybe it's composing some lines in me. Um, I was part of a lot of lives because of a flagger, the construction crews so I met, who I never really would have been friends with if I hadn't been a flagger. The people I met out of town, there's that observing, but I'd talk to people. Once as an I was once at a hotel watching a movie, and the motel clerk who was through her own troubles, just sat in the lobby with me and watched the movie is like being on a date. I think it's also a point of connection.
Oh yeah, I don't I guess I don't know if it's a real word or if it's one of those words that like people really love and well, all words are real words, never mind. But I feel like you also have a bit of so the word I'm getting at is sonder, which is the understanding that every single person has a rich life because we often see people as like, strangers don't aren't real and developed. And I feel like a lot of your work dives into that, which seems like it would be a product of that observation. Um, is that something that came to you in that work because you just met and saw and made eye contact with so many people?
There's part of me that's still like a wide-eyed kid. It's still going, wow. I think I've been friends with everyday lives. I think sometimes people give me a hard time that I was friends with so many waitresses, but I figured they knew life better than me almost. I think figured like waitresses and servers are met at different places. They were the uh, ultimate people person, even more than me, even when I tried to become a psychotherapist or when I worked in hotlines. In the hotlines, I'd be with someone like for 3 hour shifts once a week when they're with people all the time. They'll hear people's life stories. I think diner is like one of the best meeting places of people in the world.
Yeah, especially I was gonna say especially diners, and maybe even roadside diners. But that sort of customer service job over a meal where you're like really actually spending time with someone, even if it's not really deep. Um, I love that. I'm gonna think about that. The servers at restaurants, especially diners, especially roadside diners, really get to see a lot of the face of humanity. Huh. Huh.
Tune into me for a discovery. I'm probably discovering along with you.
I'm writing that down. Now you said you had heard that travel was important to writing. Do you think, well, where did you get that idea? Is going to be the first part of the question.
There are different big name poets who traveled around. I think I admired what was it, French, or the guy whose wife went to Paris for a residency, and I thought that was awesome. I'm trying to remember his name. I think was he the one who wrote the nonfiction? I think he's the one who wrote the nonfiction book about his the troubles with his family in Davenport. He's a really good guy, and
I
his
was
wife
wondering if you were
traveled
talking
to
about Ben
Paris.
Miller. Yep, Ben Miller
Yeah,
wrote
I
um oh gosh, Memories of a Boyhood Idol, and he also wrote the COVID Chronicles. I might be getting both of those book titles wrong, but I will link to them correctly in the video.
cool. Yeah, it was great hearing from him, and I thought his wife read some poems, and I thought they were just I can't quote them, but I thought they were kind of neat. I thought how nice she got actually to be paid to be in Paris for a while. I'd take a residency.
Yeah, right. No, those two, what a power couple as far as I guess writing. So do you agree then that travel has been important to your own writing?
It it totally came alive. I've been writing seriously and published seriously for years. I'm always looking for something new to keep me going, including new ways of writing.
I actually really love how you phrase that. Because I personally I feel like you have to live to be able to art. So you said, new ways of living, and I think that really translates nicely into, travel, no matter what, is going to give us new experiences. Um, so of course it gave you new life to talk about.
I probably I don't think I actually wrote a poem about it, but I could.
I am
I don't
certain.
have to worry if anyone takes the idea their poem be different than mine about how when I was driving from Simons in northern Iowa, each water tower had its own logo. I think the funniest thing logo, and it's been used a lot, is if if you lived here, you'd be home now or whatever. One of those funny
Yeah.
water towers. Iowa's friendliest town. I used to, when we were bumming around in high school, I thought it was hilarious to drive into Bettendorf. And the big sign would say Iowa's most exciting city. And I went, what?
Oh, I love stuff like that because it's cheeky too. Um, so then, do you feel, how do I ask this? Um, Now you also said that you heard um that the writer is an observer first. No, you said that's the first advice for writers, which seems correct. Uh, what have you like when you started to intentionally observe? How did that change your writing? Assuming you've been writing since what you said, fifth grade.
Well, very sporadically. I got serious in '93 after my dad died. It was my way of, I had a horrible job and it was my way of getting on in life. But I I knew for a long time it just clicked. I knew since fifth grade that it was something that clicked with me. Um, so it was always there. It's just that there are times I didn't actively pursue it until after my dad died. Then it's like a lifelong thing. And I oddly did tell him that I just wanted to write. He said, "Oh, you got to get a job and all this," which I had to. I had to find something that would bring in the money.
Um, so did you then intentionally start to observe, or did you, when you were writing, realize what you had observed?
It's more like playing. Um, Again, in college, my life was falling apart to because I was trying to control everything and analyze everything. I think it's kind of good to be just intent without intent and just kind of have some things be like play.
I love that. I feel like so much, at least once you like get into the writing world, it's so serious. But presumably something brought us to writing first, right? And presumably it was a good feeling. So the idea that I mean, I'm assuming you continue to think of writing as play is really heartening for me.
It's a mixture. It's work and play and that kind of thing, but I'm mostly driven. Um, Play to have more fun. Maybe play has more meaning than work, like something that I just have to do.
I was gonna say that's a Mark Twain quote is work is anything a body is obliged to do, play is anything a body is not obliged to do. Which is funny because I would think it would be obligated, not obliged.
There are
Not quite.
deadlines. There are deadlines, and the roughest part is, and I always hope that I'm decent with people working with when I'm going back and forth and people in the final stages and getting a book. That's really the hardest part when I have to be really nitpicky and I'm not playing around. Then it's like bit by bit, nitpicking every little piece that isn't right. And I have to keep going to like a layout person. I drove one crazy. I thought for the Siouxland and Other Dreams and keep going back. No, change this. I just saw this. Change this, change this. Whereas being kind of nitpicky, he didn't totally enjoy it. I didn't totally enjoy being that way, but I had to get the book as right as it could.
Yeah, of
Then
course.
I'm asking, am I being a decent boss?
I think if I'm in the right space, though, even editing and revising can feel like play. I would
they
say
do
that.
in
Go ahead.
they do in a way in a poem because I'm doing something and it's more like a kid tugging at my shoulder to change a line, and I'll just be there. I probably do most of my revisions in the first setting, get something down, it's nice, but then a kid's tugging at my sleeve, say, no, change that line, no, change that word, no, do this, no, do that. Then I then I'm finished. most of the revisions are coming up. The other set of revisions are actually when I'm getting ready to submit or when I'm in the stages of getting the book right.
I love that analogy you used. It does, I feel like, and bless that child tugging at my shirt. Um, I feel that. And you have to be in like a very specific, I have to be in a very specific, like open-minded place to feel the tug on my shirt. Otherwise, I'm gonna slap the kid and not realize. And I'm working on revisions right now, and it feels really daunting when I think about it. So that's nice to hear. I think that'll help me get into that right headspace. Um, so it sounds to me this is you said you end up doing a lot of revisions when you're preparing to submit. So here's how I'm hearing that is you write the piece, you edit, you revise, and then you see an opportunity to submit it, and then you return to the piece.
Right.
Uh,
Some some poets say, like some of the ones I most admire say that sometimes they'll set aside a poem for months. If I did it, just kind of disappear, considering I live in a relatively small space, have a lot of manuscripts, and have a lot of things on different flash drives, and not all my flash drives are in the same folder. So it's
yeah,
almost like do it now or
forever hold your
and
peace.
I'm sure there are good poems sitting somewhere that ought to be dug out of their
Revisited.
flash drives.
Yeah. Oh, I've got a couple of retired computers and I'll always worry that there's something left on them. Um, Shoot, I forgot what I was. Oh, okay. Now you mentioned you have an eighth book coming out.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that a little bit?
This credit to the Midwest Writing Center, Spectra.
Yep.
Remember the Spectra where first we all as a group had to read this poem where the ghosts wear pants, they can't go through
Oh,
walls.
Jacob Sands, yeah.
And and the assignment was to write a ghost poem, which I thought was an absolute hoot.
Oh, God, that
And
was such a good. I
I
mean,
wrote a few
since
after that.
since we've started doing these the writing classes to go along with the Spectra, I've felt just so jazzed about writing. That was Jacob Sands, right?
I I don't know. I don't really my memory of all the people I've great some of them great who I've seen. I
I
don't
know.
always remember the names.
I'm trying to
It's
remember
good
the
with
name of
me
that
though.
poem too, and I can remember the guy who read that night, but not the poem we read, not the name of it.
Uh, Anyway, I wrote a few ghost poems. I think the best one is the title of the next book, which is about small town stuff, which I've sometimes written about pretty well.
Because
Uh,
sometimes, yes, I
Ghost
think that might be your
Ghost
bread and
Order the
butter.
Daily Special is the next book about a diner in Geneseo and the quirky things about townspeople.
Oh, that's awesome.
Then
Uh,
there are some other ones too. I look back at it, I just think we gain some stuff, we lose some stuff, but there are always presences in our life.
wow, yeah, what a good. I feel like you're saying this as a metaphor for ghosts, right? But maybe you're being literal.
Um, it's more a metaphor. I mean, the ghost thing's fun. I watched Casper the Friendly Ghost one time,
Mhm. Wait, the cartoon?
the cartoon.
Yeah,
Not for real. I named a car Casper once because it's white. I always
cute.
named my cars as a little Beretta, sporty Beretta that I loved.
I love that. Um, Shoot, where was I going with this? So this book that's coming out is a collection of poems, is that right?
It's all poems based on that. It has to do some with travel, and that is actually the first is going to kind of be a haunted book because the first poem in there is actually a haunted house in Rockford, and I was up there for one of the meetings of the Rockford Writers Guild. For one of the meetings, the guy took us through a haunted house next to it, and I kind of had it titled about that, and I kind of changed it, and I went to the ghost thing.
What? One of the writing
The
meetings was a ghost tour?
we just toured and I felt a strange warmness in the in the house. Maybe I'm suggestible, maybe there was a presence.
Oh,
That's the first poem in the book, and the third poem is actually goes sort of the daily special.
I'm sorry. What a cool meeting. I would
Yeah,
not
it
be
was.
okay.
Um, they're a very active group. They've for a long time just done Zoom meetings. I've done workshops for them, but the president of the Rockford Writers Guild actually lives in Rockford. I mean, lives in the state of Washington.
Oh, really?
So,
How does that happen? I guess you don't have to tell me that. It's
um,
fine.
well, she's wanted to do it. She's a great writer. She's got great skill for keeping the Rockford Writers Guild. When I first joined, it was a guy who lived in Rockford, David Ross, who's awesome. Then he had troubles and he handed off to Connie. I'm trying to think, Kuntz. That was her married name. Who's actually a a playwright. She's actually, I think, presented poems in Chicago. Um, she is my biggest supporter among the guild. I actually had a quick lunch with her and her dad and the kids are kind of hanging around me while I was eating the different munchies they gave me. True group of friends. There's the 99-year-old woman, I think Vera or whatever, who always hugged all of us and gave advice like a mom. There are a lot of really neat people.
That's so nice. I feel like when people talk about a writing community, like that's what I imagine. That sounds really nice.
Oh yeah.
So you said you started getting serious about writing in 93 when your dad was ill or when your dad was dying?
After he died, after he died, I don't the odd thing is all these poems I wrote he never read because he's gone.
Yeah. Um,
So
no, go ahead.
the first thing I wrote, someone actually said it sounded like a Pink Floyd song lyrics, but something about I think it was called Alzheimer's Blanket or something. I wrote and I just showed it like people at Good Samaritan Home where my dad lived, and they
Hmm.
asked for it, and they put in one of the newsletters. They actually asked me to do readings for residents there, which were actually my first public readings, residents at nursing homes.
Wow, that's cool. I never would have thought about that, and now I feel real silly because that's awesome. Um, it's hard for me to imagine a time before you were actively writing and reading and publishing. What was that, I guess, transition into being a writer like? I know you cared for your father um as he aged. My grandmother was at Good Samaritans too when she was dying, when she had Alzheimer's. Um, so I have a very real image in my head of the setting, but how did that transition happen for you?
Discovery. The job I had was absolutely dreary. The people weren't nice. I knew all along as a writer, and actually off and on, I had been doing stuff. I mean, when I was with the Cornbell Running Club, I was writing articles about races. Then I was working at Illinois Children and Family Services, which I absolutely loved, but I knew I needed something more. So I was writing articles about races, and I was doing some public relations work for them. I did public relations for other groups, and it's just a question of me wanting a little bit more than just the jobs, even if I really liked them. Then when my dad died, that was really the time to get serious about writing, to get on with my life. Um,
So
I think some would say that that is a gift where it really forces you to change.
yeah, Ryan, the director at the Midwest Writing Center, had this really gorgeous prompt, maybe a couple years ago, um, in which it was a clip from, it was Stephen Colbert speaking about the worst thing that ever happened to him, which was I think it was the death of his mother. Um, and he was talking, and the prompt was about like finding a way to be grateful for that horrible, horrible thing. Um, and I don't personally have that power.
Mm,
Um, but I understand what you're saying. Like there was a need for this spin on it.
um,
And you
it's
had
kind of
go ahead.
it's kind of a mixed bag for me. Someone who I know stuck in the 70s, and I go, it's great. But then there's the part of me saying, move on. But it was great. Um, some people talk about gratitude, which I do a lot. I just kind of view living a long life as layering a lot of things on top of each other. I'm sure the 70s are part of me, but so are a lot of other things. And I think my motto in going to college, especially college, and I'm learning life and coming to my own, is move on, move on, move on. But we don't totally. There are TED Talks about that, when you lose someone, you don't totally move on. I view it all like living in that, like maybe the Beatles recording Strawberry Fields Forever, where John Lennon's first playing on a guitar, then all these instruments are just layered on it and layered on it, and there's so much, but the original melody still remains.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah,
Uh,
I've layered a lot of stuff in my life.
I think a lot about palimpsest, which is really the same thing. Um, for as a metaphor for the way that we move through what we move through. Palimpsest, for folks unfamiliar with the term, is essentially writing on top of writing. It comes from when scroll would be reused. Sometimes the writing would be like bleached off or crossed out, but there was writing over the top of it. Um, but when it's music like that, especially, an intentionally I can't think of the word, constructed song, composed, that's the word. That's much nicer than palimpsest, which is messy. Um, hmm, I don't even remember what I asked.
I'm distracting that way. I have that effect on a lot of people.
Um, but it sounds like so you never really left writing behind, but you were not pursuing it as an artist, say, when you were
Right,
doing more journalistic work, and just the need from sitting in the the struggle of bereavement is what made that change in you.
right.
That makes sense to me. Um, but then I always feel like, and I've actually just recently talked to author Amy Lee Lillard about how we get like stuck on a topic and we just keep writing that one topic. And I often end up feeling like a one-trick pony. But you don't have like you were presumably writing grief, and then you went into this period of observation. Um, do you feel like there's a I don't know, there's a topic that you continue to come back to?
There's themes. At times it's kind of hard for me to analyze my writing because I tried for years not to be too analytical.
Hmm.
Gut level, I think there are things that come back to just kind of love of things around me. Just kind of this wide-eyed kid who's looking at stuff and going, wow, who maybe sees a tree different than in a different way than other people see trees.
Hmm.
Um, when I first was with QC Poets, it was kind of traumatic for me moving from Minnesota in the 60s. It was traumatic because I absolutely loved it up there. And things around here weren't always that nice as an outsider. But I think a lot of my poems when I was first in QC Poets were about Minnesota, and it's great. But again, it goes like to that fellow writer. It's like, come on, there are other things. You don't move on, but there are other things going on right now.
Yeah, they live inside you.
Yeah. Um, Following the Beatles, I what I liked is their variety music, and I hope with my stuff it got variety. There's still like these things that I just love, which maybe is just kind of a big theme, which I guess when you lose someone, you find other things to love. It's all around. You just take it with you from one person to one thing, one other. It's all there within you, which some grief people talk about. And a big theme used to be writing because before, when I wasn't actively um, writing for years, I was running a lot, even ran a marathon. Then when I lost that, I that made me even more dependent on writing when I couldn't run anymore.
Oh,
And I think
wow.
that kind of that acts is actually incorporated in my writing. It's something I still remember. When the group in Burlington, they wanted poems that they'd send to the paper there. I just wrote a poem about my running days, like doing working out in a running speed on a track. And I just kind of went back to that. So I got a lot of things to go back to.
Wow, I didn't even know you were a runner. You said
Oh,
when you said
dead serious.
when I lost that, I was like, you can't lose a marathon. You ran 26 miles. And you were like, when you
No,
lost,
when I lost the running
yeah. No,
and I
I
couldn't do it
understand.
anymore. No, I completed in spite of dehydrating.
Well,
Uh,
I don't think there's any way
and
around dehydrating if you're doing a marathon, right?
so when I finished my skin bone dry, I started the first half really good. Then come 20 miles, and then when I felt my skin was kind of dry, it was truly a matter of survival where I had to alternate walking and running just to get through because I dehydrated, which hurt my marathon time by maybe like over 20 minutes, but I got through it.
Well, I mean, you have to life comes first.
Yeah, being able to finish was the main thing and strategize so I could finish in spite of what
Also,
was
20
going on.
minutes is not a big deal in the grand scheme of a marathon.
Yeah, I was running among the top quarter of the runners, I think, till right among them and right among some truly really good people till I like dehydrated.
That's so scary to me. Um, so what do you I'm trying to trying to prioritize my final questions for you. Um, what keeps you writing? I know that's not like an easy question, but
Ah,
I think it's important for some.
as as crazy as it sounds, it's kind of my life. It's
No,
kind of like the constant in my life.
I mean that doesn't sound crazy to me. I write because like I have to.
I mean, at the job I have, and I really have some arguments with them. I complain about hours getting cut, and maybe some guy gets a few more hours because he's available at all the time. He said, "Well, your choice is your hobby or your job." And I thought, I've almost blurted out, "The job is my life. This is kind of a place that doesn't totally appreciate its people. And you want me available all the time? Well, you're not paying me for all the time.
hmm
I got things to do, especially when they say among their employees that the work-life balance
Oh God, they all say that, don't they?
is important, and they don't do it in totally in practice.
Right. And they all say that. Ugh. Yeah, and that's sort of a, I don't know. I would be so insulted if somebody, okay, I won't be insulted, and this does happen a lot, but like I'm insulted by the idea that art is a hobby. Uh,
Yeah.
it's it's not. It is the most human thing that one can engage with, and it keeps us human and it keeps us alive.
Um,
Don't come at me with this hobby nonsense.
um, I do it all because I like it, but even my readings, my appearances, and things like that. It, in a way, it's a little bit of a business thing.
There's a
And there are
toll
more
too.
business things I'd do if I had the energy for it.
Right, because it's got a toll.
I sell my books where I'm doing different readings more than the bookstores, even though the people who run the bookstores that carry me are wonderful.
I saw you yesterday, which well, it doesn't matter. The book rack had a bunch of your books on display in their
Oh,
social
nice. I
media
like them.
posts. So you should check that
I,
out.
I ought to get back to them. They they said you have to be in touch with them every now and then to say whether you want them to still carry your books.
Hmm.
They had Mike McCarty and me there once. They don't have room for book sightings, and Mike McCarty's people, all of Mike McCarty's people are the people who bought my books. And
Well, they already had
then
his.
one, then one guy had a picture taken of him, Michael and me standing together.
Mike and Mike.
Yeah, Mike the horror writer, then Mike me the other writer, the
Uh,
other things.
yeah. No, God, we have such lovely bookstores here, and it's not like I don't know about a lot of like mean bookstore owners, but I just really feel like in the Quad Cities, our bookstore people just love books, which is so good.
Uh,
Um, now you said,
after retired, being retired, I just wanted to work at Scott Community College bookstore, but it's way too seasonal, and I had to get something else.
ugh, that would be nice.
Being in a college setting and surrounded by books, and
That's
was slow. I have to confess, I was digging into this social sociology books and psychology to see how the fields maybe have changed,
hmm.
and I think maybe I picked up some of the stuff for literature too.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think that's all. I mean, but we're the same kind of nerd. I just want to learn.
Yeah,
Uh,
Scott Community College bookstore doesn't even exist anymore. People are just reading online. This nice little place is gone.
oh, I didn't know that. I'm trying to be mindful of your time. You said that you would be willing to read a poem for us. Are you still up for that?
Yeah, if you want, I figure there might be a request. This
Yes,
has a
please.
little bit to do with poetic connections. Um, Funny how the topic with suitcase and bag came up. This is like my last copy available for sale. I sold one copy at
Oh.
Bishop Hill, but this one I didn't. And it's after I lost a job and met a friend who's kind of hanging out. This is flaky, really friendly lady who I knew. And we kind of had like a little bit of a poetry date or whatever down at Theo's.
Hmm.
And this is actually part of a project too that someone told me where you record a poem is played in a phone booth, tele, telebooth poetry. And this is at a phone booth in two different, at one place in Council Bluffs and another. You dial a number for this poem and hear it over a phone. So it's part of
Awesome.
that project too. Uh, this is called Poems in a Coffee Shop. The taste of a special blend tickles my tongue as someone sits across the table. She takes the muffler from her slender neck but leaves on her coat. I take a sip of the steaming brew while looking at the pink ribbon she wears on her coat zipper. We talk about weather and fortunes to start the conversation. She twists strands of her reddish hair and stirs her coffee. She asks me to read a poem and I comply. When I nod, she reads one of her own, and I savor every word while listening for what is unsaid. Time passes unknowingly while we look into the content of our lives. When I ask her about her ribbon, she says she comes to this world as a gift, and I believe her.
Hmm. Sorry, did not mean to. I was doing such a good job of not responding.
Without the grunt, you mean?
Yeah.
A poetic grunt. I read that at Spectre once, and there's one of the big time poets there, Hannah. I forget what her name was, but she was really neat. And I bought a book, and she autographed it and complimented me on the ribbon.
Yeah. Wow, that's awesome. Ugh, I would, yeah, I having your work responded to is just I gotta be it's divine. It's a divine experience.
from people I highly admire.
Mm. Yeah, I had like a nice tidy closing question
Sure.
in response to your poem, and it is gone. Um, is there anything you wish I had asked, anything you want folks to know?
Um,
Anywhere we can look forward to seeing you after in May and June, July?
I'll May 7th, I'll be one of the authors at the author night at Bettendorf Public Library. Another night of a library treating us authors like royalty. And April, who coordinates it, and she buys all my books for the Bettendorf Public Library, is one of the most supportive person to me. And last year, I actually discovered that some of the librarians at the Bettendorf Public Library had written books of their own, which I didn't know before. Um, the fall, there's going to be, I'll have to post this on Facebook. I'll be at something like three different book fairs, I think. Princeton was recruiting us for one, the Princeton Public Library, Princeton, Illinois. The I'm sure I'll be at the Sterling Book Fair, and I'm trying to think of where. I think I'm going to be at another. Um, I've got different people contact to be a featured reading or a poetry reading in Muscatine, and I heard there's a poetry reading series in Peoria. I talked to him. I think I could be approached a featured reader there.
Now you got a lot going
Uh,
on.
when's that going? When it's arranged.
Yeah,
Yeah, I have a list of things to do as always, and try
no,
to
of course.
find enough energy to kind of go through the list.
And of course. Now I know that you have somewhere to be, so I will let you go, Mike. Thank you so
A
much for
meeting.
hanging out with me today. For folks still with me, I will now move into our updates on the Midwest Writing Center and leave you with a
Thanks
writing
for having
prompt.
me.
Thank you so much, Mike.
Thanks for having me.
Now our updates about the Midwest Writing Center. We have, of course, most of what we're looking forward to now is the May 28th is the Foster Stall chapbook release party. We have two authors this year who will be reading and of course read selling and signing their books. Um, Jenna Goldsmith with is one of the poets. She's the former poet laureate of Rockford, Illinois, and she's the director at the OSU Cascades Low Residency MFA program. I cannot remember the name of her chapbook because I was working really closely with our other chapbook author, Brittany Jekyll, on her book Witch's Mouth. These are both just gorgeous poetry chapbooks. It's a totally free event at Roz Talks, May 28th. Um, so come hang out with us, get some good lit in your life. And then, of course, the Collins Writers Conference, June 25th through 27th, will be at Augustana. Um, we have all our evening events are totally free. There's the faculty reading and participant open mic, excuse me, and we'll have a social event as well. Our novel writing instructor is Tatiana Schlody Bonet. Um, she's written three novels. Well, she's published three novels, and she's an incredible teacher. She really understands what makes novels work, and stories really tick. And this is going to be about generating and making it through the full length project. So, anywhere you are in your novel process, it's a good fit. We have Sin Kitchen teaching personal story writing. So that's both memoir and like essays or vignettes on the personal. Again, she's a professor, so she really knows how to teach. That's a really important thing. You can assume if they are teaching at the conference, we know that they are good teachers. And so current Rockford Poet Laureate Adam Al-Sirgani will be our short story teacher. His short story collection. More Hell is out from Whiskey Tit. It's he did a reading at the Atlas Collective a while back. And it was so incredible. Like the book was good, but his reading was phenomenal. And he's an editor, he's a developmental editor, and he works with writers all the time. So really a privilege to have him and our poetry instructor, Margaret Yap. Her book, Green for Look, is one of my favorite publications of I don't know what year it came out. I think it came out in 2024 and I read it in 2025. So that's confusing for me. And then some other bonuses. Of course, Margaret, Adam, and Sin will all be doing manuscript consultations so you can get their eyes on your work. There's a fee for that, goes directly to the teacher, of course, for their time. We will also have Allison Means, who does some acquisitions for University of Iowa Press on hand. She will be doing some like lunch and learn seminars, but she'll also be taking pitches for UI Press. MWC Press will be taking pitches as well. That is to to read your manuscript and potentially publish it. Um, that's what a manuscript pitch is. What else do we have going on? And then the day before the conference, I'm calling this like a conference appetizer or something. We have a Spectre reading June 24th, again, totally free, featuring Andrea Rexilius and Eric Baus, both Denver-based poets, both really incredible and prolific authors. So yeah, please join us for all these free and awesome events. We do have a few scholarships available for the Collins Writers Conference. Those are all each workshop is 3 days long. It builds on itself. There are 4 different workshops that you can take. Um, yeah, all the info for everything, mwcqc.org. And then for your writing prompt, please give yourself 5, 10 minutes on a timer, whatever it is that you can spare, and write what comes. I would like for you to put yourself in the position of hypothetically a flagger. Whatever road you are most familiar with, especially if you can maybe see it from where you are, take some time and think about the observations or the experience of standing there on that road all day and write whatever comes. As always, thanks for hanging out and please write more light into your life.